Hello. Welcome to the THC Show.
As he coughs on his THC.
I'll be getting off. You don't cough, you don't get off. So here we go. THC, you know, that wonderful euphoric chemical found on the cannabis plant that helps people get through whatever it is that's bothering them with a little bit of euphoria. It's a wonderful thing. And THC, in the case of the show, is talking about truth, hope, and change, where we hope that by telling the truth about THC and that wonderful euphoric feeling that people get to help them through whatever's not right with them, we'll be able to have the change that it's looking for in the future with respect to proper regulations and proper access. It's really all about access. Access is key. Cannabis, of course, as probably everybody that's watching this show should know, if you don't, it's an amazing herb that has extreme medicinal values for human beings and has been used as such for millennia. We'd have a symbiotic relationship with this plant that goes back, farther than you can imagine, and it really is of great benefit to a lot of different people. However, because it was of such benefit and so easy to access, certain powers that be that had other competing products conspired against it, and we've been waging a war for over 100 years now against people wanting to access this plant. I think we're winning the war, but it certainly is not over yet at all. The oldest compassion club that exists in the world, basically, has been operating for 27 years on Vancouver Island in Victoria, the Victoria Buyers Club. It predates the MMAR, it predates legalization. It was there 27 years ago, forging a way forward for people to get access that needed it medicinally. They've done a great job. They have an 8,600 customer base or client base. In 27 years, I doubt there's ever been a complaint against them of any significance to do with harming anybody. And I'll tell you, there's got to be thousands of people that'll tell you that the Cannabis Buyers Club saved their life or gave them their life back or resulted in very important health benefits for these people. Along the way, they've gotten support from their city council, from the local police department, from the neighbors, from the other harm reduction outlets, and for the cannabis movement for sure. However, despite all of that, and there's more too, in fact, I guess it's important that I mention that the Cannabis Buyers Club has been involved in legal battles all along the way here. It was them that forged the way for access to edibles and concentrates and for people to be able to make their own, and all that happened because the Cannabis Buyers Club fought charges that they had against them, took it to a constitutional challenge, and won time after time. None of that seems to matter. Here we are now with so-called legalization for the rich, by the rich, excluding medical cannabis users, the biggest flaw to the whole thing. And Ted's Club becomes a target of the provincial police force put together specifically to try to protect the rec market. But the Cannabis Buyers Club's not the rec market. They're medical patients with doctors on boards and a clear track record going back 27 years. Yet, somebody within the cannabis the community safety unit that is so inaptly named, as Kurt Tusaw said during their recent press conference a couple hours ago. I'll say they're inaptly named, that's for sure. Somebody there made a decision to go ahead and raid Ted's Club. And they did. They should have been able to determine before they did that, but certainly after they did that what they were dealing with was a club involved with medical patients. Didn't seem to matter. They levied a $6.5 million fine on Ted and the society. Now they've raided him again. stole all kinds of medicine meant for people that really, really needed it that now can't get it. So, as of a few hours ago, Ted Smith announced that the Cannabis Buyers Club of Victoria is launching a suit against the BC government and the CSU. Good on them. As they pointed out that during their video release, that this isn't something that they're wanting to do. They really want to be just left alone if they can't be supported by government to continue the fine work that they've been doing. But instead, their hand is forced, and they really have no choice but to raise a whole bunch of money, to pay a bunch of lawyers, to go and fight our own public servants, our own federal government, who are going to use our tax dollars to fight against them, to try to keep them from being able to provide access for people who really need it. If there was proper access, then the club wouldn't be needed and this fight wouldn't be happening. But there certainly is not proper, reasonable access. We've discovered the same thing here. Our journey is similar to Ted's. For 6 years, we've been here addressing the opioid crisis with the Cannabis Substitution Program. For 6 years, we've been trying to get governments on board with what we're doing. We were deemed an essential service during the pandemic of handing out care packs to people twice a week. Legalization comes along. The City of Vancouver thinks that we're going to be okay and they can support us with a license, except they have to wait for Health Canada. Over 2.5 years ago, we applied to Health Canada. We're still getting stalls and excuses and intents to deny, which we recently responded to again. And we'll see where that goes. But I'll tell you where it's gone already. It's gone already to exposing just how corrupt this Canadian governance is. I think the Canadian government has done a fantastic job over the last number of decades of cultivating that belief about Canada as being this nice, pleasant, polite place to live where certainly you can trust what's going on with your government. There's nothing to see here, folks. But I think they're as evil and corrupt as the United States government is. The difference being that down in the States, it's pretty much been exposed. They all know it's corrupt. They all know this corruption's all going on, and they try to live like in that system. Here we are in our system, where the average person doesn't believe it, doesn't want to believe it, has been sold a bill of goods that our government is pure and clean and has our best interests in mind and is just working diligently and efficiently, protecting public safety and public interests, and it's not corrupt. Well, we're sure here to tell you that it is corrupt, and we're not the only ones. People have been blasting the government for its corruption for quite a while. Trudeau has taken quite a bashing in the last little while, and for good reason. Recently, Lisa Lapointe, British Columbia's head coroner, was addressing the meeting of British Columbia municipalities, where front and center on their agenda was the overdose crisis that's reached into all the different communities of British Columbia, cuts across all demographics, and has been killing people and causing overdoses at an alarming rate. In fact, an emergency rate, a crisis rate. And what did Ms. Lapointe have to say to the Union of British Columbia Municipalities? Even though when she first tried to speak, her mic cut out. Maybe there's something to that, maybe there's not. Let's say there's not. Whatever. When she did get to speak, what she had to say was that organized crime has infiltrated the highest levels of our government in Canada. It's a pretty bold statement from a British Columbia coroner trying to deal with an overdose epidemic, a crisis, a public health emergency that came to be because of government policy in the first place, and is continuing on into its 8th year now. We've completed 7 years. 11,000 people dead here. And far more than that severely and permanently disabled because of overdose. The governments are throwing lots of money at that. Millions of dollars. Where are the results? What is it that they're actually doing? When you look close, you realize that what they're doing is they're taking our tax dollars and they're putting it into the pockets of their well-connected insider friends. And that the money's going to safe supply or safe needles or other things that maintain this public health emergency that's being monetized by our federal corrupt officials. So it's time we all woke up here in Canada. It's time we realized what's going on. If you cannot trust your government, they are not your friend. They'll help you if you're well connected, and they will hurt you bad if you get in their way and if you're not part of their agenda. And their agenda is about control. No question about it. Control of the human energy that is the Canadian populace, and control of the financial aspects of our country. They're in cahoots with a bunch of unethical businessmen who just want to exploit what there is to be exploited in our environment and in our society. We need to wake up to this. We need to all try to do something about this. It is not okay. It might not be our fault, but it's on us to do something about it. Who else is going to do it if not us? Who else if not you? Who else if not me? We all need to get behind a call for a reset of our democracy. One that involves a level of transparency that would not allow for this to happen in the first place. We have the technology. Surveillance needs to be turned on to the government and away from the public. Not all of it, of course. All my statements are not generalized to the point where all scrutiny of the public should be taken away. Of course, we need to have some surveillance on what goes on in the public because there's unscrupulous people there as well. But the point is that the ones who are so far are owning the cameras should be the ones with the cameras pointed at them. That there shouldn't be closed door meetings with leaders of industry discussing public money being spent on contracts without us being able to witness those negotiations. And why wouldn't we be able to? What have they got to hide? Are they selling us out, or are they standing up for our rights and trying to be frugal with our money? If they're standing up for our rights and trying to be frugal for our money, they should have no problem being scrutinized while they do that. Just a small video crew with every MP as they go through their day was all that we would need. It wouldn't cost as much as probably one bomb. But we're at war here. Unfortunately, we're at war with our own government, who decided to declare war on its citizens a long time ago by preventing access to the cannabis plant. That was a nasty thing to do. That was an impossible thing to do. That was an extremely expensive thing to do. But that's what they did 100 years ago now in Canada, following the lead of the United States. A federal law against cannabis in 1923, based on nothing but lies and a book of sensationalistic stories gleaned out of U.S. newspapers and put together in a book by Emily Murphy called The Black Candle, an expose of the illegal drugs in the world. And her chapter on marijuana, The New Menace, it was called, was absolutely outrageous. Talked about a new crazy drug coming up from Mexico, driving people completely insane, violent, possessing super strength and amazing lust. And they would rape and kill and provide violence in the community until they would die a horrible death from overdose. That's the tale she told in her book about marijuana. All of it, nothing but lies and sensationalism to sell books, but to mostly help the financial elite control people. It was used prior to that in the southern states to control the Mexican immigrants. It's been used as a control mechanism ever since. If we step back from it and have a look, you'll realize there's never been any justification for it at all. A quick look at the stories that were told by William Randolph Hearst in his nationwide newspapers about how marijuana caused people to kill their families and do all sorts of horrible things would have pretty quickly been seen through had it been scrutinized. But those were different days back then, and the rich got away with whatever they wanted to. And this is the thing they wanted to get away with most, is to convince people that this plant, marijuana, was so dangerous that it needed to be treated as public enemy number one. More money spent on enforcement against cannabis and possession and sale of cannabis than any other thing they ever spent money on in law enforcement. More people jailed for crimes revolving around cannabis than for any other crime committed. Millions of people put into cells, into cages for long prison sentences, all because of their involvement with cannabis, marijuana. A horrible, horrible crime perpetrated against people here in North America that's still going on today. We have not had an apology. We've not had reparations. We've had a bit of a turnaround in the availability. Now the government is the biggest cannabis seller in the business. There's stores all over the place. You don't hear anything about any damage being caused by people smoking weed anymore. But I'll tell you, this is a huge crime. It's 4:19. One more minute, and I'm pretty much there anyway. The attempt to prohibit cannabis and now to overregulate it is a serious crime against the citizens of this country and North America and the world. And the reasons it's happening is because organized crime has infiltrated the highest levels of our government. And I'm not sure what we can do about it. But right now what we're trying to do is force the issue on access to cannabis as a medical product. And that's our journey. And we'll tell you more about it as the show goes on, as we always do. That's what the show is typically about, is our journey to end up eventually, hopefully one day, with a low barrier access community cannabis store that people can walk into and access cannabis without the high cost, without the limits on potency, without the need for ID and a bank account and all the rest of the barriers that are there for people. That this plant can finally be liberated properly. The people that are involved with it can be liberated properly. And a government of actual public servants can use its power to make sure that people have reasonable access and that all people have access. That's the future. It's 4:20. Must be time for Glenn Wells. A little levity. Wells.
Yeah, Wells. Get up there.
And now it's Wells. I gotta add another one in there.
I don't know. You don't have to do anything.
Wells.
Wells.
I like that. You know, that could be like, we could be like, what's the name of that? The detective from Britain there with the magnifying glass. Sherlock Holmes and his partner Wells.
Oh, was it? Holmes.
No, but it could be Wells.
It could be Wells, okay.
Then you could say, well, Wells.
Okay, we're changing Holmes' name to Wells.
To Wells.
Okay,
yeah. All right. So we can say, well, Wells, what do you think of this? It just rolls off the tongue better than Well Holmes.
Yeah.
What are you smoking today?
Still same stuff, some pink goo from Beard Brothers. I've had it for a few weeks.
Are we already beyond a week past 420?
2 weeks. Oh yeah,
coming up on
it's like a week already. Yeah.
Man,
this is the last of my pink goo. I should have some more coming next week before I go on my trip. It's time to go see Mom again.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
I went to see my mom on Sunday. She was doing a little bit better.
Well, my
She
mom
is looking her age though at 90 now.
is she?
Yeah.
Finally at 90.
It's been, quite a graduation the last little while for her, getting, quite a bit older every week that we see her. She's really
It's catching up with her.
embracing the old age. And, having trouble getting in and out of the car.
You got the walker and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So she's a little bit
Compression
frail.
socks.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Yes.
Old age.
Yeah.
Not looking
Speaking of old, Gordon just passed away, 84.
Gordon Lightfoot, yeah.
Yeah.
What an
84 is a
amazing,
good life.
yeah, what an amazing life and a career that man had. I listened to some interviews with him yesterday talking about how since he was 17 years old, he knew he had no choice but to write songs.
Oh, really?
He was driven to sing songs, and that he really felt like he had to write his own songs.
I heard today that he started at the age of 4 in school.
Probably,
and he sang a song, and that's where it kind of started from that age on. Yeah, age of 4. Wow.
What a career! What a career!
Yeah.
Put out some fantastic music that a lot of people really enjoyed.
Oh yeah, it's Canadiana. Even I let Mike Rita know, and he was so sad because Mike really likes Gordon too, right? So, and he was in Toronto there too. So
some great music along the way.
I get to be on Mike Rita's podcast in a couple of weeks.
That's cool.
Yeah, called Snacks of Life.
Snacks of Life.
Yes, with Edward Snacks, I think his name is Edward Snacks. Yes.
So it's not talking about actual snacks like CBD snacks.
There are all kinds of snacks. There's bees, nuts, and all kinds of stuff, right?
I think one of the performers coming up at Cannabis Day is snack something.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, so in a couple of weeks, I'm going to be in Ontario, and the show starts at 10 o'clock, and I think they broadcast
They're
it the next
flying you
day.
in there and paying for your hotel.
It's part of my trip to see Mom anyways, right? But now I get to be on a podcast. Yeah, it's on Apple, it's on Spotify.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so that's going to be cool. I messaged him today. He said, looking forward to it. It's going to be awesome. So, yeah.
I see you're wearing your license plate on your shirt there, so
it's
easy for the cops to find you.
Somebody
Whose
said,
car is this?
Somebody said that if I get lost, they can just take me back to my car. Yes.
We should all have our license plates on our chest.
If everybody doesn't know, CDXX means 420 in Roman numerals, right? So that's why I'm wearing CDXX, right?
Because he's Roman at heart.
Yeah.
Roman from here to there. He wears a toga on the weekends.
Toga.
Those are good movies.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
Toga parties.
John Belushi.
Yep. Toga parties are great. That beautiful, nice joint case that I've had. Oh.
So, I was watching Dr. John Campbell there.
Yeah, I know.
Very interesting fellow. I've been watching him for a while.
Wow,
And he's showing that the research is showing conclusively that CBD is effective in dealing with the coronavirus.
Yeah, and other RNA, hepatitis C, hepatitis A, or no, E, there are some other things. The cold virus is an RNA. Anything that seems to be an RNA disease or a virus, CBD seems to be helping. But no, we're not talking about this kind, though. He says in the video, it's not inhaled. It's a CBD.
Well, he also said it
take.
wasn't. He also said it wasn't THC.
Yes, but that's what I'm saying.
I'll tell you, if you got some sickness going on, a little bit of THC wouldn't hurt.
Yeah.
It might not cure the sickness, but
they did actual human testing in lungs that had cancer. He said, and it helped. I think. It was threefold or fourfold or something.
It was conclusive evidence.
Yeah,
sure.
And this guy actually shows the medical paper that he's talking from.
Oh, Dr. Campbell is good.
Yes,
he's good, and he's also talked a lot in the past little while about the excessive deaths that there are around the world. And the problems with the vaccines. And there's a lot of problems with the vaccines.
Well, that's because they hired almost anybody to give you that shot. And apparently some people, there was some blood in the shot, and it got into the system where it's supposed to have just gone into the muscle, right? You're supposed to put it in and pull it out to see if there's any blood, right? A little bit. And I believe that because there were mass doing it, there was a lot of people who made mistakes.
The mad rush to vaccinate.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, mistakes were made. Yes.
Lots of mistakes were made.
And a lot of people, and moms and babies and all.
And there was a lot
of
of side effects too.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's been swept under the carpet. There's been a lot of information coming out lately about this type of thing, about how the medical establishment is trying to build up the amount of cases that there were and blame it on COVID unnecessarily to continue the hype. So,
There's another lady called Naomi Woods, I think.
I think that's a porn star.
No, well, there's a lady.
A porn star
Okay, but
Naomi
there's a
Woods.
lady who has the actual
What do I know?
Pfizer files, and she's been reporting what she's read in the files.
Right.
So, so there's some stuff in there.
Yeah,
too.
Pfizer's in some trouble for sure, as they should be. You know. It's just such a corrupt world,
We just stick to our cannabis. Even that's getting corrupt with the CSU, Wow, right?
No, it's still not there. It's still crazy as can be.
And I made that post. How can the government say there's no medicinal value in cannabis, but yet ask you to have a prescription for anybody that is over 10 milligrams? That's stupid. Like,
I know.
Really, if there's no medical value, then why do I need a fucking prescription? Right? It's so, and you can walk around with 2.5 grams of cocaine on you right here and not have a problem.
It was my theme at 420 on during my speeches there. Is that what we are dealing in a world with criminal hypocrisy?
Yeah.
It's just so blatant. It's so obvious for anybody with half a brain. You just look at it and go, well, that makes no sense, But when it makes no sense, rest assured, it's probably making money.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, definitely making money.
And that is the basic definition of corruption right there.
Yep.
They lie to you.
Step on toes, make money, don't care.
It's all about making money off you.
Yeah.
So it's frustrating. I haven't heard nothing back from Health Canada yet.
No.
I haven't heard anything
They were just
back.
on strike.
Okay.
That's why you haven't heard anything, because they just went back on Monday.
God knows the overdose crisis, it goes on strike when the government goes on strike. People stop dying when there's no people at Health Canada to make
people
decisions.
are not back off strike yet. Only the public service workers are back.
So what
So
was that about?
people.
So this is the latest excuse now is Health Canada's shut down due to strike.
Well, now they're back up.
And now they're back up.
Yeah.
Well, I got my back up.
As of yesterday.
My back's up too.
They went back to work, yes.
As if you've been watching the show for a while, you've seen the different levels of frustration to the point of anger that has, been coming on here as we go. I try to temper it, and balance it and keep it.
It's not easy.
I got the lever on there, the control lever on there because I can't stay pissed right off all the time. I mean, there's no way to live. I mean, I'd burn out pretty fast or something would happen.
That's true.
But this seems to be such a long journey to get what should have been done like immediately.
Yeah.
And when there's people's lives at stake, and we get to see it firsthand here. I mean, obviously the people at Health Canada, they're in their ivory towers over in their, their spot there. They don't care. There's a huge complex of buildings there. What they don't have outside those buildings are people living in tents, homeless people obviously drug addicted. None of that's going on there, not in the Health Canada complex. It's going on in Ottawa for sure. It's going on in Toronto. It's going on in Regina and Saskatoon and in Vernon. And all of these places have this similar issue with people that are homeless, they're disenfranchised, and they're really struggling. And yet Health Canada seems to, they're living in this fantasy world. And they're trying to maintain that, they got their ears plugged and they got things over their eyes and they're going, nah. We don't think cannabis has any medical value.
Yeah.
And that's what they're told to say. That's what they're paid to say. And it doesn't matter the evidence that is presented to them.
Yeah.
And it's just...
They're still going, no.
I mean, how stupid can you be to not think that cannabis has medical value? I mean, really, even going back to when they said before the Ledane Commission that made people lazy.
Yeah.
So
Do we look lazy?
It makes you lazy. Well, you look at that has a medical application, folks. If cannabis can put you to sleep, that has a medical application.
Yeah.
If it can calm you down, that is a medical application. I mean, they give out pills to calm people down, to help them sleep, to do the things that cannabis gets blamed for because it's a drug. These things, when used properly in the right applications, have medical value. So here's, the governments, from the federal government of the United States to the federal government of Canada, both in bed together, trying to pull the blankets up over their heads and say, la 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 la, we don't hear any of this information. We don't, oh, we didn't get those emails. Oh, we haven't been watching the news recently. Whatever.
Upper management knows about you, and we'll get back to you soon. Yeah.
You're on the waiting list. We're gonna read those reports soon.
Yeah.
Or rest assured, our team is working diligently on your file every day since we got it, Mr. Magnuson, for 2.5 years, working diligently. Oh man, and if they were, oh my God, it wouldn't have taken more than a day or two.
Yeah.
A quick read of that application, a quick watch of those people's testimonials and the human, carnage that's going on that we are addressing better than anything else. You would understand that quickly. Anybody with half a brain, a high school student and up, would read our application that we put into Health Canada because we made it that way on purpose.
We get these guys their license.
And we should have had our license right away.
Yeah.
It should have been like 2 days later, we should have been getting an email saying we have an exemption for you until we can actually get the licenses figured out. We're gonna make regulations out of what it is you're doing to make sure that people are helped even better. Yeah. And they would have been all over it, and it wouldn't have taken long because we made it that way. We made it easy, and we were laying out a process that had been ongoing for over 3.5 years by that time. So for 3.5 years, we've been developing what was best to answer the overdose crisis and meet the needs of these people. And so here we are. We've been doing it. The model is in place. Help yourself. Make it better if you can. We would appreciate that. Who wouldn't? But it shouldn't have taken any time at all.
No.
Not well over 2.5 years now.
I'm going on 4 or 5 years waiting for my renewal. Yep, still waiting.
And so let's just explore that a little bit. Glenn, you have an exemption.
Yep.
Your doctor's signed on to.
Yep.
And it's to combat what particular condition?
PTSD and scoliosis.
So PTSD, this is trauma that's rooted in the past and in the childhood. That's been affecting you your whole life in very serious ways.
Yep.
And scoliosis.
Because it's curvature of the spine.
Where you're not even supposed to be walking right now based on earlier diagnosis.
Earlier diagnosis that I should have been in a wheelchair at 40.
And it's painful.
Oh, yes.
It's tough to sit.
As a child, but now I just live with it. Right? It's more stiffness.
So you're living with it, but it is there.
It's there.
It is there.
You especially notice it at night when you're sleeping because you're not medicating. You're sleeping, and then you roll, and you're sore because you wake up, right? And stuff like that.
Oh man!
So that's when I really noticed most of my pain.
And how long are you since your first diagnosis of scoliosis?
I was 11, so 47 years.
So you've been living with scoliosis, which is it's a progressive illness.
Yeah.
It doesn't get better; it gets worse as time goes on.
Yeah.
For all of these years,
yeah.
And you found something that helps, and you went to your doctor, and your doctor said, "Okay, great,
pain specialist."
And then you present.
Not just a doctor, a pain specialist. Yeah.
And so a pain specialist agrees that you should have access to cannabis to help you with this.
Yeah.
And unlike any other medication that he would have said you could use, where you would have taken that piece of paper that he scribbled on next door or downstairs to the pharmacy and had it within an hour.
Yeah. To
get a medicinal herb. You have waited how long?
It's been 4 years now.
4 years.
And December it'll be 5 years. I know. It was December 2018 I sent it in, so it's now 2023. So yeah.
You know the last paragraph.
And I keep 2 weeks ago. Upper management knows about you.
Yes, upper management knows about you.
Yeah, they know that I'm on your show and part of the CSP or something. Maybe they think that my 100 grams a day is to help you or something. I don't know. I don't know. But my pain specialist wrote me out 100 grams a day because I like to choose with it, make edibles for myself, use it for sleeping.
And you've had the license, and then the license expired, and now you're waiting.
Well, it's not expired now. Right now, it's in the gray area because they haven't denied it. It's in the renewal stage.
I see.
But the person that was growing for me is no longer anymore, right? So.
But you could have somebody grow for you.
I do have somebody who's growing for me, but that's a new person who's been waiting 4 years for them to say, yeah, he can go ahead.
But right now he's not legal?
No, he's not even growing for me right now. He is my designated grower.
So you're buying your weed from the government stores then?
No.
You're ordering it online from LPs?
My name is Glenn Wells. I've lived in Mission, British Columbia for over 30 years, so I know some local neighbors.
Well, and you know more than that. You know yourself, and you know the cannabis industry basically.
I wouldn't go to a government store.
And you, with your experience and knowledge, would not go to a government store. You would not be ordering online from an LP.
I would be in pain.
And you're not going to not use cannabis.
Nope.
So you're forced to be a criminal.
Yeah.
While Health Canada ponders your application.
Yep, kind of.
Something that if the doctor had written out a prescription for some extremely toxic pharmaceutical with great potential for overdose and abuse.
You're going to run in my pocket.
And, you know, that's good. You can have that within an hour.
Yeah.
But to get cannabis, no, the corruption is just insane. So I wrote a response, as many of you know, and maybe you saw it on the show, where I read my letter back to Health Canada. And in the last paragraph of that letter to Health Canada, I said that what the public sees is that it appears the government is trying to capitalize on the legalization of cannabis and monetize the overdose crisis. And this is disgusting and a very bad look.
It is.
And that is so true.
The government gets so many good kudo points if they're down here saving people's lives. Right? Doctors gave these people opioids. Now they're where they are because of an accident that may have happened to them, or maybe because they got into it because of alcohol or something. But the government
and the general public a lot of times doesn't realize this. You know, a lot of people in the mainstream public, they think that the addicts, the visible addicts and the invisible addicts, if you're addicted to these opioids, if you're shooting needles in your arms, that you deserve everything you got and get, that you did this to yourself, you know,
or you continue to do it to yourself, and
you can quit any time.
They don't know the treatment takes 6 months just to get into it.
They don't understand how hard it is to get off that stuff once you're on it, because of the physical implications. This is not just a mental thing. It's not just about willpower. Willpower is involved in a lot of things. But here it's also a physical barrier to getting off of those drugs, and it's very difficult once that starts happening. Once you start cramping up, once the pain starts setting in, your brain goes a little crazy. You know that feeling good is just on the other side of another hit. You just need to go get another hit. And so, you know, it's very difficult for people to quit. And so they don't understand that. And the other thing that the mainstream public doesn't seem to really understand is that this could happen to them. This could happen to their kids. It can happen to their family members and friends. It's not about, you know, being someone, you know, defying the law, deciding to party, not being responsible. In so many cases, these are drugs that we were put on by a doctor because of an injury of some sort or some sort of a situation like that. And even for the ones that did get it, you know, through a party or something like that, the people that stick with it, that get it through that type of an interaction of going to a party and it's offered to them and then they try it, and that's true for a lot of people growing up, that they go to these parties and it's offered to them and they try it. The ones that get stuck on it are the ones that it really did something for, the ones that had that emotional or physical pain going on, and here's a bit of relief, and then it continues that way.
Same with alcohol. Right?
Similar with alcohol.
You could be down in the dumps and you would get drunk and now you're happy and laughing, but the problem hasn't gone away. It's there when you wake up sober again, right? Yeah,
these are people that have been traumatized for the most part, either through injury or by circumstance, and that they're trying to deal with the trauma and the PTSD that comes from what happens to people. Many of it's trauma that happened early on in life as children, and they're trying to deal with it as adults. Others,
or even
adults,
as an adult in work, like
others it's adults when they have something happen.
Police officers, doctors, nurses,
a lot of other people.
Yeah, it could even be just the guy who's seen somebody's arm get chopped off at work or something. He can have PTSD too.
You never know what it is to cope with what a person's coping with, and you can't know. You can have a glimpse of it, you can have an idea of it. They can tell you, but it's incomplete. You know, people go through stuff, and most people are silent about it. Most people don't want to be complainers.
No.
They don't want to let anybody know that they're hurting in the ways that they are. They just try to deal with it. And if they end up, you know, down that path of how to deal with it, it can be very difficult to reverse that and get back off that. So, you know,
It's crazy.
It's a crazy world that we're living in.
But now we found out that cannabis edibles stop the physical pain, and they help you sleep, they help you eat, and they make you feel better the next day, and you do another edible, and you get through this without the sweat and the pains. And it's not 3 months in a treatment center. It's like a week or 2 weeks, you start feeling better. I guess you would be better.
It's a week, basically.
It's a week. In a week.
If you get through the first 4 to 7 days, then you're kind of on the other side of it.
Yeah.
And that's where cannabis edibles and concentrates continues to help.
Yeah.
You know, I talked just briefly at the beginning of the show about the euphoria that you get out of the THC, that's that compound that provides euphoria, and what that's about. So we live in an amazing universe. Life is incredible that there is life. This planet has been developing and evolving life for over 4 billion years. The life that's on this planet is highly adapted to the environment that they are in. We are products of the environment. We are made out of the plants that we eat. We have learned how to function through all of the microbes and bacteriums that are living with us in the atmosphere and on all the foods and everything around us and on our bodies. And we're in tune for the most part with these things. When we're out of tune, when trauma happens, injury in one form or another, when that happens, our environment has the means to heal us and to get us back to the balances that we should have. And you know, depending on the injury, being focused on your pain is not the best thing to do. If you can get your mind off of the pain and allow your body to just relax and do its thing while maybe you get distracted a little bit, well, that's a really valuable tool. So here, this one plant is combining and condensing all of these different cannabinoids. There's a whole bunch of these different cannabinoids. The cannabinoids, in their differences, do many different things. The most prevalent in today's cannabis, of course, is THC. Mostly because it's been genetically bred for that, or genetically altered to produce more THC. That had become the very desirable component. Then there was a desire to have cannabis for some of its other industrial uses that didn't have the THC, because that had become public enemy number one. So they've selectively bred THC out of a few strains of cannabis, and they've been using that for industrial hemp since the Second World War. So in that particular case, the THC has been genetically driven down, and CBD is the dominant cannabinoid of the entourage of cannabinoids that are on the cannabis plant.
There's a lot of them.
And there's a lot of them.
There is.
And there's CBN, which is useful for helping people sleep, and a whole host of other things.
They're finding out, but like you said, this Dr. John, he even said in his video, they're not going to do any tests with this because it's not worth any money to them. We can grow.
It's taking money away.
Yeah, we can grow hemp at tons and square footage and everything, and make an oil, and there's no money in it for them to do.
Well,
these tests
in that case,
works, right?
What you're talking about now is this California company that seems to have gone belly up and left the whole. That's the one you told me.
No, the vid with the RNA and the CBD. He said that. Yeah, he was saying.
What I'm talking about is about $1 million in money down the tubes by a company that was throwing money around all over the place based on projected profits in the future. But that was on the price of CBD remaining like way the hell through the roof. CBD is easy to produce. The market is flooded with it if you consider all the CBD that's on the hemp that's being grown around the world. So the bottom sort of fell out of that, not as much as it should have and still needs to. But because of that, now all of a sudden they're not worth what they think they're going to be worth, and so they just they all disappeared.
Oh wow!
They just disappeared.
Wow.
There was a whole bunch of money. There was a Russian billionaire, a coal billionaire, that was the main founder of this company. And I guess he died or something like that. Anyway, there's a whole huge scandal.
I guess he wasn't using CBD.
I don't know. He was old.
He was old, wasn't he?
And who knows? You know, in Russia, you die suddenly sometimes. So
Yes, yeah.
even if you're not in Russia.
Yeah.
Oh man, I need another puff.
You need another puff,
I do, yeah. I see that, you know, with Ted Smith and what he's doing there in his suit against the government and the
Yeah.
CSU.
Doing the same thing as you, right? Or are they suing?
Well, he's suing,
I thought
you
you
know,
were
and
doing
that's
a
kind of
constitutional challenge
that's
also.
our route in the future, depending on what Health Canada does. The
Yeah.
ball's in their court at this point. But if they were to actively deny us the ability to continue what we've got going here, we would have no choice, just like Ted, but to launch a suit. And what he's looking for is a temporary injunction
Yeah.
against any further interference from the CSU or law enforcement, and then a permanent injunction against the CSU from doing anything like this again in the
Yeah.
future
Yeah.
with anybody else.
So he's going to go the injunction way, is he? Even though we're being.
But he's also
told-
seeking a declaration of unconstitutionality with respect to the Cannabis Act,
Yeah.
and he's also a declaration of unconstitutionality with respect to the Provincial Cannabis Act.
Okay.
There's an act where, you know, the province has brought in a lot of their own things. In fact, the whole CSU thing
Is
is
all the
unique
province.
to BC.
Yeah.
This is not federally orchestrated at all. It's all done from the provincial level.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, that group needs to be disbanded
Yeah.
immediately.
Yeah, and
in my
defunded.
opinion. Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
And since their inception, there's been several different court decisions that should have disbanded them.
Even our friends Doug and Michelle are going through that too.
The
right?
Howell decision,
Yeah.
the Sleeman, Martin, and Warnicki case.
Mm-hmm.
Or I guess Martin's not on that one anymore. It's just Sleeman and Warnicki that brought that constitutional challenge now.
Yeah.
Jerry Martin decided to plead guilty. I don't know the whole ins and outs of those. So,
Yeah. I heard that he was not taking the deal, or he's taking a deal or something.
he took a deal. He took a
deal.
plea deal.
Huh.
But I don't know any more than that about it. Jerry and I don't speak.
Nope, and I haven't
So-
seen it either, so. Yeah.
Anyway, I guess that's all I got on that.
Okay. We got some events coming up, don't we?
Well, Cannabis Day.
Yeah.
That's
Thornton
exciting.
Park again.
At Thornton Park again.
Yes.
I don't think Mercules is going to be there this time, but his loss. I know he had a blast at 420.
Yeah.
I saw that he had posted that doing 420 in Vancouver and having Afro Man there, that's it. He's nailed his dreams and goals.
Really? That was pretty
He
good.
doesn't need any more. That's it. You know. His lifetime goals have now been accomplished. He can retire.
So, what's going to be at Thornton Park? Are you going to have more music from the same people?
Yeah, there's going to be the same producers of the music that did the 420 are going to be involved. Promoters, not producers. Well, producers too.
I guess
probably.
so. Yeah.
They're promoting what they produce.
Yeah.
And there will be some local talent as well
Cool.
mixed into it, so that
Nice.
should be good.
That'll be good.
We were hoping for a little better weather for July 1st.
Well,
than
usually
we had.
July is always a dry month.
I think it won't be pouring
Yeah,
rain.
it's-
Well, what do I know? You know.
No, July
wanna
seems
jinx
to be that real dry month. They even do fireworks in July. So, and then the last weekend of July going into BC Day. Sure. The hell.
There's the glass gathering coming up.
Yep.
I don't know the date for that. I should get the date for that for you.
That's
Glass
next
gathering.
month.
It's next month.
Next month, yeah.
Redbeard. Different location, I believe.
Yeah, they have to clear a whole bunch of trees and stuff like that for this new location on somebody's property.
I would like to go, but I can't really leave what I'm doing here, so I probably don't get to do
I think
it.
it's on the weekend.
Doesn't matter for me.
Yeah.
There's no weekends for me.
But you can go to the island. It's on the island, isn't it? Or no, it's up at Squamish, isn't it?
Well, but it's
Right.
It's
If
like
you
a 3
go
or
to
4
an
hour-
island for a day, you can head up to.
Oh, I
Glass
could go
Gathering
there
a
for
day.
I could go there for a few hours
Yeah,
and come
for the
back
day,
down.
and come down, right?
But I really can't go there and spend the night. I can't spend the weekend,
No.
or anything like that.
No.
Even when I go to the island, I don't really like being away.
No, I know you do.
I'm always
it
concerned
always
with
seems to work out, right?
phones. Well, so for
the trip to the
you know,
Glass
every-
Gathering will probably work
Every
out.
day
too.
without a raid is a good day, right?
Yeah, it is.
But you never know when that's going to happen, and we've had it
Nope.
happen here a couple of times now.
Yep.
It happened to Ted. It's happened to other businesses, cannabis businesses around us. The CSU is active,
Maybe I don't know. Maybe they're not going to bother
know.
you because you're criminally charged, where Ted has not been criminally
Well,
charged.
you know, that's not what my lawyer thinks. My
Okay.
lawyer thinks that because we've been criminally charged with selling without a license, that because we continue to do so, we're subject to
You're
being
still there.
arrested
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
So we kind of live under the fear and the threat of that every day here, and I don't like to be away from the place
Yeah.
because of that.
Yeah.
If
You just
it's
never
going to go
know.
down, I need to be here to speak to these issues, to understand, you know, how it goes down. I wouldn't want to just have my staff, be
Yeah.
the ones to have to deal with that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't feel right about it, so I don't like being away from here. I try to stay here, which traps me here to some degree.
Yeah.
You know, I'd like
you
to.
need an assistant like me. Send me to go get stuff.
No. I need an assistant that can be here instead of me. That can,
Oh,
that
okay.
can say and do the things that I would say and do if
I
a
don't.
raid happened.
No, I
And
think it would
could
be
feel-
better the other way around.
Yeah, I
because
know.
You're the only one who can say and do things the way you do it best.
I know.
Right.
Not fair. Not fair.
Yeah. There's just like nobody there. No. You're it. That's it.
Nobody knows it better than me.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
You know, because I've been living it 7 days a week for a long time here.
Yeah.
So I have to be the one to do this. I'm the one with my name behind everything. When they come here, I'm the one they want to talk to.
Yep. And you want to talk to them.
I do.
I know.
If
I know
something
you
like
do.
that's going down, I think I can make it better. And
Yeah.
if I'm not here, it's going to be worse.
Yep.
So it's just how I feel. You know, I need to get away, but I can't get away because if I did get away, then I wouldn't be really getting away because I'd just be getting away with the same anxious headspace of, oh my God, I should be there, not here.
Yeah.
What I need to do is be able to get away and be at peace and not have to worry. And federal government, you could do that for me. All it takes is an email, a piece of paper with a signature on it, something like that. Just an exemption.
Or just
You
an
know?
email saying your exemption is on the way.
Something
Yeah.
that we could post up that would make me feel comfortable that the authorities are not going to come here and steal all the medicine that we have for people and arrest and harass my staff and customers. That's what I would like to have. I think we've proven it over and over and over again. I mean, how long of a demonstration do you have to put on?
Yeah.
This is the most crazy thing.
Well, Ted's been doing it for 20 years.
27 years.
27 years, yeah. Over
You're
20
absolutely
years.
right.
Yeah.
I guess I shouldn't complain.
Yeah.
I've only been at this for 6 years, trying to get the governments to approve what is obviously the right thing to approve, and I guess I got 21 more years to go
I guess so, eh?
to just get to where Ted is.
Shit, man.
And Ted hasn't won anything yet.
You'll be in your close to 90s by then. Jeez.
Got to eat healthy.
Yeah, I gotta keep going on it.
And Ted hasn't got anything yet. Ted has still lost all of his stuff. He's still facing a $6.5 million fine.
Yeah.
I
And plus the fine
don't
they'll do
think
on
he's
this
running a store right now because I don't think he can, but I don't really know that. But he hasn't won anything. I mean, hopefully he wins. You would think he's going to win. We've won just about every other one that has happened, so that probably win this too. But it took 3 years for the Allard case to go. I mean, 3 years.
The courts don't even. I mean, we won, but the government's not even following that rule.
Yeah, exactly. And then what does he win? What does he win? Vindication, no more fine, but we still aren't going to give you a license because we're going to take a year to rewrite the regs, and then the regs are going to be pretty similar to what they were before. And it's still not going to allow you to do what you were doing there without doing it the way we want you to do it, which doesn't allow you to help most of your people. This is just going to go on and on and on by the looks of it. I don't know what can happen except that more people need to get involved.
Yeah.
It needs to become a bigger thing, and we just need to keep pounding away at that this is so wrong. I don't know what else to do.
Just keep doing it. Keep doing what you're doing.
That's
what
kind of
the
my
police have been
belief.
telling you and everything, right? Keep doing what you're doing when you talk to them out in the
I
street,
know,
right?
That is the strategy. I mean, you
Right.
keep doing the right thing over and over again. Eventually, good things are going to happen.
Yeah.
That's my belief about it. So I'm here to not back down. I'm going to demonstrate today that I can provide cannabis in the form of high dose edibles to people, and it won't hurt anybody, and it'll help people.
Save lives, yeah.
So every day, that's what I do.
Yeah.
I wake up in the morning and I think to myself, no matter what, today we're going to demonstrate once again that we can do this and it's safe and effective. And then at the end of most days, I say to my staff, well, another day, no raid. Every day without a raid's a good day.
Yeah.
Most of the days I've been able to say that because we haven't had raids most of the days. but 6 years worth. It's more, and so we had 300 events at Vandu. Every one of them I considered to be an event. 300 times in a 3.5 year period, we showed up at Vandu with boxes full of high-dose edibles, signs that declared this is what we're doing, and handed out packs of high-dose edibles to a couple hundred, 300 people every time for 300 times. That demonstration managed to get us, the City Council of Vancouver, passing a motion that they would support what we're doing.
Just like Victoria,
you know, that demonstration got us the support of a lot of the other harm reduction groups in the area. That 300-day demonstration got us letters from Dr. Malloy, from Zachary Walsh, from other renowned people in the harm reduction field are understanding these issues. We gained a lot in 300 events. The 300th event was the last one at Vandu. From there, it was here. In another 37 days, we will have been here on this block for 3 years.
Wow.
June 9th.
June 9th.
Is when we opened the doors to the store. We were open 6 days a week and 8 hours a day for 5.5 months before all those series of events happened, and the city wouldn't give us a license till Health Canada does, and Health Canada just keeps delaying, and they didn't give us a license, so we ended up getting evicted. And we bought an RV, and we've been in the RV ever since for over 2.5 years now. Almost 2.5 years now we've been in the RV. And, okay, now I had a larger point than that. I think I should light another joint.
I think so. There's one here now straight for you.
Insert a little more of the focusing tool.
Yeah.
So we've been here for just about 3 years. We went to 7 days a week over a year ago now. March 1st of last year, we went to 7 days a week. So for the previous 2.5 years, we were only at 6 days a week. But if you add it all up, it's 1,018 days that we've shown up here, opened the doors,
doing your protest,
doing our demonstration, doing our protest.
When did you change it to the Cannabis Substitution Protest, and then would they be able to arrest you because now where it's legal to protest, and then when we have our markets, that's a protest, and they never move in on us, right?
They don't move in on most of the markets that we have
because there's too many of us.
Because there's too many of us. They do move in on the small pop-ups that happen, around the city. There's been a lot of that interference over the years. They don't give a shit that you say that your protest is selling cannabis. So that wouldn't give me peace of mind.
No.
It may or may not give us some protection. But you're absolutely right, and that is what I'm trying to say here. Is that this is a demonstration. It's a demonstration where every day we come here and get our backs up and stand up and say we're going to break the law again today because this is the right thing to do, and we're going to demonstrate that by breaking the law here today, no one is going to get harmed, and it's going to help a lot of people when they really, really need it during a public health emergency. So, that's the protest that we're putting on here, and it is a protest, absolutely. And, come on, government, how long of a protest does it take? This has become quite the demonstration about demonstrations.
How many more people have to die because you're not making the exception there?
We're demonstrating that you have to demonstrate more than 1,300 times, and who knows how much more we're going to continue to have to demonstrate. But this is a demonstration about demonstrations. And it's not looking good, folks. 420 is a demonstration, obviously, where once a year we get together and we really demonstrate what a farmer's market can look like, and we really demonstrate, how powerful our community is. Once a year we do 420.
Okay.
And that's the one where we really do it.
BC Day is getting bad. BC Monday is pretty good.
Well, nothing compares to what we built for 420.
You're right. I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to go back and qualify that, then we have all these other lesser events where we also demonstrate these things. But, how many demonstrations does it take? I don't know. I guess maybe it was 25 demonstrations of 420 before we finally got legalization, even though it's not the legalization we're asking for.
Or we were told.
Or maybe 420 had nothing to do with it. So I saw that. Did you see those comments?
Oh.
That 420 is a waste of time. It doesn't accomplish anything.
Oh, really? Who said that?
I don't know.
Some guy or some reporter?
Non-memorable person was poking at some of the I think Calgary activists about this. And I thought Fred Bell did a really good job of answering him back, for sure. Probably did a better job than I'm going to do. But, we built 420 to be a platform where we could get our message out to the mainstream and be paid attention to.
Yeah.
And that is what we have accomplished. It's so difficult to get that going on. And it was, as activists, so difficult to get any mainstream media to pay attention to what we were trying to say.
Yeah, we're just potheads.
Yeah, to get a news story that was positive about our activism was very, very difficult. We would hang around press conferences with the justice ministers or prime ministers or whoever we could, if ever it was happening, if you could get close enough and you could get a sign in the picture in behind, or something like that, and that was kind of the extent of what we were able to get with respect to media coverage.
And then they came up with the technology to be able to blur things out, so they can only see the person and not your sign anymore, right?
Yeah, so and if they would write a story at all, it was usually not positive.
No.
Very difficult to get positive stuff going on in the media, and even at our protests, but 420
has always been.
We managed to build that into something that got paid attention to.
Yep.
Free joints, pounds and pounds of free joints thrown out from the stage every 420. That really did it.
Yeah.
Bringing in good entertainment, getting people. Nobody's going to come there and listen to people just speak all day long. That's boring and wouldn't attract very many people at all.
Yeah.
And it would get lost. So we brought in entertainment that would bring in the people. We built it to the point where we overflowed the art gallery for several years in a row. By the last year we were there, we had 3 stages. I had to run and talk about run. We have 3 stages surrounding the art gallery. One in the front, one on the side, and one in the back. And I'm doing O Cannabis.
Yeah.
And somehow they decided that I needed to do O Cannabis from all 3 stages. So I did it off the Georgia side, managed to get to the back side and did it again, managed to get over to the House Street and did it again. Roxanne leading the charge, holding my hand and dragging me through while she yells, "I have the cannabis singer, he needs to get through."
Maybe you should do O Cannabis at the beginning of each event, like we used to do O Canada at the beginning of the day of school. Right?
Sure.
Do if you're on Indigenous land.
But it had to be done at 420.
Yeah, well, so at 420, but
You wanted to do it twice now.
I don't know. But you said you had to do it 3 times.
I did.
If you ever have
I did it twice for a couple of years because we had the 2 stages. Then we decided, let's put in a 3rd stage down the side there. And Neil can sing all 3.
Oh, wow.
I did make it work. It was very interesting.
Yeah.
But the point is that we overflowed into the streets.
Yeah.
We had to shut the streets down. We got media attention. We got media attention because we defied the law.
Yeah.
The Parks Board would come out and say it's an unsanctioned event and they can't do it. And the city would come out and say we're not giving them a permit unless they don't have any weed there. But they were saying things and it was running in the media. This is the point. And so here we are now, this past 420, I must have done 10 media interviews during the lead up and on the day. I saw myself on the media where they put what they had edited onto the screen, and it's me saying high-dose edibles gets people through withdrawal. This legalization is for the rich, by the rich, and it's excluding the poor people.
Yeah.
All that stuff got said on mainstream media and ran right across the country, all across the... this is what, as an activist, you really look, like, holy smokes. So for somebody to say that 420 doesn't accomplish anything and it's just a party, that is not true.
No.
For those of us at the core of it that built it to be something, what it is a vehicle that the media and the mainstream population pay attention that manages to get our message out there, you know, mixed in with they didn't clean up the place.
Well,
or they
a lot of
smoked, you know.
speeches are boring, and having a party at a speech like we do, it's just fucking awesome.
It's
People
the way to
remember,
go.
people listen, they have a good time,
Exactly.
right? And they learn,
Yeah.
right? So
No, I think that
yeah.
that anybody would be able to understand that if you know, on a pouring rain day, if we're going to have 420 in the park, and all it is going to be about is a bunch of people standing there speaking,
Yeah.
you're not going to have a big crowd
had
of
a
people.
crowd.
You're not going to have a whole bunch of people crowded in there in the pouring rain, yelling and laughing and cheering and
Yeah.
all the rest that went on there that day. A very enthusiastic crowd. Dana Larson got an incredible reception when he stepped on stage to give his speech. And I thought his speech was great and very well received.
That was awesome.
You don't get that audience willing to be there in the pouring rain, even if it is Dana Larson or you know, a group of speakers that are well renowned.
Yeah.
You don't get it on a pouring rain day like that, and you don't get the throngs of people that we got for Cypress Hill and those other 420s either, without there being Cypress Hill and the other musical events that we brought in to bring
We
the
need to
people
bring
in.
Sublime in or something. They would bring in a lot of people too.
Yeah, but that's the point. Is you have to have people there to make it a protest.
Yeah.
You have to have people
And this
there
year we had
to get,
Mercedes
to
and
get,
Afro Man,
you know, the
which
media
was-
to pay
which
attention.
was good.
The media's not going to pay attention to a stage set up in a park with a bunch of people speaking all day and hardly anybody there.
Yeah.
But you fill that park. You have people spilling out into the street. You have, you know, shopkeepers complaining because there's smoke that's getting into their stores. But all of this stuff is filtering back to the media, who's going to send out a reporter to find out what's going on there. They're going to go to the organizer and they're going to ask, what's this all about?
Yeah.
And that is exactly why we put on 420, why it's worth all of the effort, and why it really has the
Plus,
ability
there's
to make
a lot
a
of
difference.
medical people out there suffering because we can't afford the government prices. I can get it 28 grams for $100. Right? I
Right
can't
on.
get 28 grams at the government store for $100 because they charge you 10 or 15 bucks a gram.
Yeah. Lots of people come because
You
there's
think I
all
got
that variety.
$300-400 just to buy an house and I have to make that last me a whole month? There's no, I can't, and there's no way. There's
No, lots of people
Yeah.
save up their money. They go to 420. There's hundreds of vendors. There's all kinds of deals. There's
Yeah.
whatever they're looking for, and they'll find it at the price that they
Yeah.
want.
And they like
great
buy a
for
lot so they gets it through them, I guess. I gets them through the summer or something. I don't know.
What are we smoking here now?
Oh, that's some the pink goo, but it's in a clear
Right.
cotton willow paper. It's it's a clear paper.
I know, I used to use clear
as you can
papers
see,
quite a bit.
It burns just as.
It's beautiful, actually.
It is.
It
You
looks
can
like it's covered in really beautiful resin,
You can
but it's
actually
not.
see what you're smoking, right? There you
Yeah.
go. There it is, right there. So they're called clear papers, and
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah,
They're great.
I used to use them all the time
Yeah.
years ago
Yeah.
when they first came out.
yeah. Well, now they changed them because they said they were having problems with the first ones that came out, but now
Yeah?
you're
What were the
using
problems?
something else. I guess it was because it was a cellophane, and this is more of a plant material cellophane.
I thought the first ones were all.
I don't know. It says
I
something.
thought it was all weed.
I can't remember. I have to read what it says on the package, but yeah, yes, it was.
See?
Yeah. People were
Yeah.
saying it was burning black or something like that, so maybe that's what it was.
I see.
Something along those lines. I only heard it once, so.
I used them quite a bit. I don't think I ever had any problem with them or noticed anything like that.
Really, eh?
I mean, anytime you're burning anything, paper,
yeah.
you know, whatever you're going to wrap your weed in and then inhale it, that becomes part of what you're
Even
inhaling.
hemp paper is a plant material, right?
Well, you know, by law, as far as I understand it, worldwide, rolling papers for smoking material has to be at least 50% hemp because it's a much more easy on your
lungs.
on your system and
All
stuff.
right. Oh.
And you can imagine, I mean, you're smoking a little bit of glue,
Yeah.
and sometimes the paper, depending on how it's processed and what might be in that, in the form of chemicals, it is part of the equation.
Yeah.
Just like the big 65-foot,
Yeah.
or 65-pound
Yeah.
joint. It was only 30-some feet,
Yeah.
But
But it was
65
actually
pounds.
63 point something pounds, wasn't it?
something like that.
Yeah.
They were
Yeah.
shooting for 65 originally, but I think they made 63 and a half.
Because you got spillage and stuff like that, right? I don't know.
Who knows what happened? Who knows what happened to those other 2 pounds of weed?
Maybe everybody got high while they were rolling.
Aye,
the damn
there might have been some people rolling a bit out of the big joint. You know? I don't know.
But
anyway,
it still broke the record.
It still broke the record.
Yeah.
I tell you what we learned is that it's very difficult to roll and then properly consume a 65-pound joint. It's an engineering feat for sure. I did not like the cardboard in the middle of it.
Yeah.
I think that if it's done again, they need to find a way to do that provides what it is that cardboard provides without there being burning cardboard inside.
So like maybe a hemp paper that's a little bit stronger and can be in a circle so it burns, like, right?
Hemp stock.
Yeah.
Hemp stock.
Maybe there you go, right?
They need to put hemp stock in there.
Because
That's what they need.
Even with the cannabis plant, it has a hole for the water for so there would be some air to go through that and everything.
Now they wanted it to be, hollow like about that much, and then drill some holes along the way to get the air into the rest of it. I don't understand that concept. I mean, I got nothing like that going on in the joints that I roll.
Well, there's some
so I'm not sure.
but it's not 65 pounds.
I know, but still, I mean,
when you suck on that, you can suck through the air. Now you get to the end of that 65-pound joint. You're sucking is only going this far.
I'm probably passed out long before it gets halfway through. But so what was I going to say? Oh yeah, so one of the issues that they had was, in fact, that we did I talk much about this last week? The trailer was stolen.
Oh yeah,
the trailer was stolen the night before that had all of the equipment, all of the weed, not the papers. They were here in Vancouver, but the trailer was stolen from Calgary, Alberta, and the morning of on the 19th, when they went to get the trailer, hook it up, and bring it here, it was gone. So we all had to scramble to get enough weed put together, to get the tables that they needed, to get the tents that they needed, to get these cardboard cores that they needed for the middle of the joint and stuff like that. So that it barely didn't happen at all, but it did happen. It did get rolled. But without that industrial snowblower that they were going to use, you see, they didn't have a big enough draw going on. With the joint to keep it going. Yeah. But if they'd have had that,
it would have been.
Now maybe, I don't know, maybe that's still, we're talking about that much basically, about a foot in diameter of weed.
And
or 35 feet.
Yeah.
So you're going to take a big torch.
Yeah.
You're going to have an airflow going through it because of this industrial snowblower hooked up at the other end that's going to put enough of a draw through that 35-foot joint of weed that it's going to create a hothead. And if you can get the hothead going, then you're golden. Then you just keep it going, right?
Yeah.
So they didn't have the industrial snowblower. What they had was Spicoli. It got stolen with the trailer. So they used Spicoli's leaf blower.
Yeah.
But Spicoli had already been blasting the crowd, during the day. So his thing didn't last very long, and the battery died, or whatever it was. I don't think I think they said the battery died. So this is not a gas one. This is an electric one.
Right.
They did get it going enough. They did draw enough smoke through the 35 feet that at least Johnny B got a hit off it.
Oh, there you go.
So all in all, it may have been a one-toke wonder, but it was 65 pounds.
Wow.
It was successfully rolled.
Yeah.
They lit it. Johnny inhaled on it, and it's a success based on all of that.
Yeah,
so there you go.
Yeah.
I hope they do it again, but enough times over and over again to really get it good, so that one day we can have an actual 110-pound joint.
110 pounds.
Held up by some sort of a crane mechanism. that has pipes and hoses branching off throughout the crowd.
This gets a good York blimp to carry it around for us. Big sign over it, right? World's biggest joint being carried by the Goodyear plant, right? There you go.
And once it's been burning for half an hour there, and it's about maybe not quite a quarter done, and all the people around have had a good blast from all the different hoses coming off of it. Well, then you could take off a bunch of those hoses. You could raise the blimp up, and you could send it over to the local prison. Pour a bunch in there, and then hover over to the local hospital, and give them a blast. And then the police stations, because a cop in a good mood is better than a cop in a bad mood, that's for sure. And
then there's news stories about mad rushes to McDonald's and Kentucky Fried Chicken and Burger King.
And on the side of the blimp, it would just be flashing in huge lit up words that says, "Stop over-regulating me." Or weed should be for everyone.
It should be.
Something like that.
It should be.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's what it's going to end up like.
Yeah.
You never know.
We never know.
You never know.
But it's probably going to end up to be some synthetic thing that we'll be able to take and we don't have to smoke or something.
You mean they win?
No. I think some sign. We'll come up.
You're going to want to go for that?
I don't know.
Would they ever convince an old guy like me to involve myself in some synthetic weed?
But the next generation might take it up.
I hope not.
Right. So
I hope not. I hope that they go back to basics, back to nature.
Right.
That this is a natural herb that's been around for a very long time. It's evidenced by the symbiotic relationship we have with the cannabinoids that it produces in our own bodies, and so that it just needs to be freely accessible. That's all. Somebody's got to give. Either they got to finally decide, okay, we're going to get out of this regulation of cannabis and then leave it to the open marketplace, and people just got to put on a little bit of government issued warnings about edible potency, something like that, like any other reasonable product.
Yeah.
And that'll be that for that. They need to let it go. If they don't let it go, we're not going to let it go.
No, we're not going to let it go.
We're going to continue to escalate our protests and our demonstrations. We're going to continue to find creative ways to expose the corruption that's involved in maintaining this ridiculous overregulation and prohibition of cannabis.
And our protests show the general public that there's better weed out there than what the government has. There's better edibles, stronger edibles, right?
More of the criminal hypocrisy.
Yeah.
To suggest that legalization has saved us all because now we have a safe supply of cannabis.
Oh, God.
Like as if there was anything ever wrong with the underground supply of cannabis to any great degree. Sure, there was some that wasn't as best.
Alcohol. You can get as much as you want, right?
Well, I think they would call that a safe supply if you're going to get it from a liquor store or a liquor establishment, and you can make your own alcohol.
Yeah,
and there's nobody coming in to inspect what you're doing to see whether or not you're making it right or not, because it's killer stuff anyway. So what do you say? This stuff's too killer, but
it's more than 40%.
Moonshine or whatever. But you can. It's just. We're not going to quit. They're not going to quit, I guess, for a while. We'll see how long this has to drag out.
Yeah.
In the end, I hope there's an end. I know that we're going to win because we're not going to give up. And if you don't give up, you don't lose. So we're going to win in the end. And in the end...
okay.
I'm an optimist. I don't want to believe in Prison Planet, and I don't want to believe in what would have to happen for them to actually
stop it. Yes.
So I'm an optimist, and I think that we do win in the end here, and it's not going to be over till it's over, but it will be over someday. That there will be enough easy access and no penalties for pot.
Yeah.
And it will come out. Glenn, I believe it'll be more than that.
Yeah.
I believe that there will be a real telling of the truth about the value of cannabis for people. That there will be the ability for people to advertise or talk about these things in better ways. That the government will have to stop denying that cannabis has any medical value and embrace the fact that it does. And somewhere down there, I believe there will be an apology.
Yeah.
That this plant that as time goes on becomes more and more a very positive part of our society, as it is at this point. I mean, just everybody knows the value of cannabis and appreciates it, and it's coming out in so many other different areas as well. Industrially, you see that end of things.
Even
coming up.
that minister that you got to ask a question was saying that there's new things and they're learning new things.
Yeah,
about it,
we've
right?
made progress, and there's more to come.
Yeah,
this is from the health minister of Canada just a couple of weeks ago now. Yeah. So that is the truth, and I think the truth wins out in the end. I'm an optimist. I believe that. They can't hide all this stuff forever, and this is such a powerful story that they're not going to be able to keep it under wraps for forever. I hope not, anyway. I mean, maybe if they did if they do manage to entrench this legal system, the model that they've got all around the world, and there isn't opposition to it.
Yeah. I believe that there will always be opposition, because I tell Isabel there's not anything in the world that there's not an opposite to. Yeah. Even though there's these people, there's going to be people that are opposite of them. So we just have to win. That's all.
For them to get away with that, I mean, you see what happens at 420.
Yeah.
You know, all these people come out of the woodwork. Even with increased enforcement and increased money for enforcement, increased penalties available to the government with respect to people that are doing exactly what was done at 420 by all the vendors that are there.
Yeah.
You know, speaks to the spirit of the community. For them to be able to accomplish this protection racket and make it real and make it work, they would have to use such a heavy hammer against people.
Yeah.
And you would be not only scared for your life and your family's life to have anything to do with, you know, helping people get weed other than through the government, but that you would be scared for your life and your family's life even if you just didn't report somebody who did know. You know, if they could make it, if they could scrutinize it, if they could have enough security and enough cameras and surveillance and enough enforcement in place, and the penalties were so severe and the chance of getting away with it were slim, then you could almost probably wipe out, you know, any competition to the government stores. But short of that type of a totalitarian, you know, dystopian, you know, fucking future, there's going to be unregulated cannabis out in the marketplace for people to be able to access.
That's what we're used to.
No matter what they do.
Yeah, that's what we're used to. Unregulated has been for that 100 years.
And they have to allow that.
Yeah.
You know, there's unregulated tomatoes every tomato season. Yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
There's unregulated grapes for sale. There's people making wine without licenses. There's, you know, not a lot of that wine is for sale without licenses. But there's a lot of tomatoes that are for sale.
But you can bring it to your own home, though. Your wine that you've made, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
And you don't fear the police breaking through your doors and you know, anything like that.
Yeah.
So, you know, this situation has to stop. It's just so ludicrous. It makes no sense whatsoever. And as the truth comes out more and more, I think that you know, finally, eventually, you know, there'll be a big change. But what they're doing right now with going after Ted Smith, going after, you know, making sure there's no medical access through storefronts instead of, you know, eagerly licensing access through storefronts, which is what needs to happen, then there'll continue to be protests and fights and lawyers paid money and court proceedings and all the rest of it, just like we've had for the last 30 or 40 years here.
Yeah.
You know, it'll continue, but we'll win. Because we have to, because it's right, because they got...
It'd be nice, I guess, if the stores that they had a section for medical people that had high-dose stuff. And that you could, if you had a prescription from your doctor, then you could go into that section and get that kind of stuff.
You don't need a prescription from no doctor.
But
you can't put a barrier up like that to the people that don't have a doctor and don't have a prescription.
Okay.
This just needs to be low barrier access, like anything else. Like drug stores, you know, all over every city in North America, there's drug stores. Shoppers Drug Mart, London drugs. You walk into those stores, you can buy a plethora of all kinds of different medication. Some of it you have to go through a doctor's prescription in the back corner with these people behind walls and glass, and they'll give you some medicine back there that's even more toxic than the stuff that they have in the rest of the store.
Yeah.
But the stuff that's in the rest of the store, easy to overdose on. Lots of that stuff, lots of problems. People do use it for all sorts of different things it's not meant to. Doesn't matter. No ID needs to be shown. You walk in there, baseball cap, sunglasses. You're obviously over 16 years of age. You can buy anything off the shelves in the drug stores in this city. And all of that you can buy off of there is more dangerous than what cannabis is in any of its concentrated or edible forms. So, makes no sense making money for people that have drug stores, right?
Yeah.
So, sounds like corruption to me.
Somebody said bless you on there. When I sneezed.
You know, we've been living under criminal hypocrisy for so long. People have had the hemp pulled over their eyes to the point where they can't really understand this from that, right from wrong. The government makes it very unclear what's right and what's wrong. They tell you these are the good drugs, these are the bad drugs. They tell you we're your servants, but we're going to punish you big time if you don't obey what we say. You know, we live with all of these criminal hypocrisies all around us. We have to accept them. It's like you live in an insane world. You know, you have to accept the insanity to be able to survive there. And we are living in insane times in an insane world, and we've just all had to accept these insanities. That out of one side of their mouth they say we have public servants, and out of the other side of their mouth you better obey what the authorities tell you or you're in a lot of trouble, even if you didn't hurt nobody, but the bottom line pockets of some of their rich friends. So, you know, the world is not what they tell you it is. We are not in good hands with a government that you can trust, that has your best interests in mind, and their public servants. Never believe that that's ever going to happen. Even if it does, we need to always be aware that corruption is right there trying to get into all of these different aspects of where people are in charge of other people. And in the case of governance, there needs to be really clear foundational pillars of understanding with respect to what the role is of these public servants, what their limits are as far as what they can and cannot enact and enforce against you, and that they be transparent in doing all of that so that they don't have the opportunity to hide and be corrupt, that everything is for public consumption. All of their emails are there to be viewed. There's no behind door, closed door meetings with leaders of industry and their lobbyists, you know, their threateners and their bribers. And so if we had all of that going along, and if we made it so that you don't just get to be in these positions of public servitude and do a bunch of bad things and walk away scot-free, oh well, you know, I was elected into office, yeah, I did these things that supported my rich friends, and now they're going to look after me and there's nothing you're going to do about it. That can't be the case. There needs to be serious repercussions for public servants put in those positions of influence and power over the public, where that position of trust means that if they violate the trust that we put onto them, that they don't have the public's best interest in what they're doing, they sell out to these corporate elite bastards, that there's serious repercussions for that. That is a heinous crime. Because, you know...
So we got to get rid of the human element in sort of like in politics.
Well, you got to scrutinize. The humans have to be
AI
there.
for president or AI for prime minister because it doesn't have morals and it'll only go by facts.
Those morals are so important. Those ethics are so important.
Yes.
We need to have that human element. We need to have people in those positions that have ethics, that have morals, that will not be bought out, will not be threatened, will not be bribed, that understand that the currency that they're operating on, what is of value to that individual, is the respect of the public, the respect of themselves, because they know that they're doing the right thing to stand up for the people in the public.
You and your team.
For sure. You know, we're very proud of ourselves here and what we're doing. And public servants should be able to be very proud of themselves as well. They should be able to hold their heads high, because what they're doing in their own mind, they know that they're there to stand up against the bullies. They're there to make sure that every individual free citizen is sovereign in their abilities to make choices for themselves, as long as they're not hurting other people. That's a job for a very proud and good human being to have, and that would be the type of politicians that we should have run for office, who could get that currency from doing that job. Instead, we get people who are really good at smiling and shaking babies' hands and kissing the mama and saying whatever it is that people want them to say.
Yeah, I want to hear.
You know, just so that they can get into that position of power where they can serve the interests of the financial elite to look after their own personal needs down the road once they're not in office anymore, and all of that kind of stuff. We don't want those people in public service. We need people in public service who care about the individual rights of everybody, who have clear and set guidelines as to where their limits are, as to what they can and cannot do in telling you what you can and cannot do.
Keep them in seclusion, whether like a government and not have access to other companies and stuff like that, and just govern.
Well, it's a funny thing because they need to spend public money.
Yeah.
And they need to do that wisely.
Yeah.
So taking bids from private corporations to do jobs is okay, as long as it's not corrupt.
Yeah.
As long as it's not friends of the politician, or somebody who's going to pay them off some other way later.
Yeah.
As long as it's open and honest, and you can see the bids, you can see, and the politician, upon saying, we have this public works thing to get done, we've put it out to public tender, I've got these bids in here now, you can see what those bids are. Some of them are less than others, but if you look at the content like I have, and we'll show you, is not quite as complete as what these other ones are.
Yeah.
We think this is a more reputable company, we think this is a better deal for the public, and here's why we're going this way.
Yeah. It might not be the lowest bid either, right? But
no, it doesn't have to be the lowest bid. It has to be the smartest bid. It has to be the one that
bid.
best suits things. We want people that can do the due diligence and figure it out.
Yeah.
Not somebody who's going to lowball the bid just to get the job, just so they can put in added on things later, or that they can use shortcuts to get places that are going to make for shoddy workmanship and all the rest. We need good people making these decisions properly, but for everybody to see, for everybody to understand, where they're proud of what they did, they can justify what they did, they can explain clearly without using weasel words, without being vague about it, without, just having a closed door meeting for a few minutes, coming in and going, well, we're going this way here. No. Make it so that the deal is, we want people who want to be able to show the public that they have their best interests in mind, and that's how they're going to do their job. And they're happy to be scrutinized. They're happy to be, transparent in all of their dealings. And they're not about to have any of the big hammer come down on them, because that's not who they are. They're people that are of integrity. That's who public servants should be. But instead, we got an old boys club. We got a bunch of wink nudge stuff going on. There's a whole bunch. They figured out how to get around emails, and how to shred stuff, and how to hide stuff, and how to go on retreats and say things in private and have closed door meetings. And all of these different things. And it's a system that is really getting us into more and more trouble as it goes forward. We are becoming more and more under the control of the financial elite who are pulling these strings, who do not have our best interests in mind as individual citizens. They have their own financial interests and control interests in mind with respect to monopolizing the populace.
Yeah.
And so here we are. We all better wake up and understand this at some point, and do what we can to fight it in some way. Because going continually down this slippery slope of losing our rights and and having corrupt governments is hurting everybody in profound ways. And the majority of people are struggling in our society. The economy is really hurting because so many people can't afford the increases in prices that have happened because of supply chain issues, because of the price of gasoline, because of transportation issues, and other issues as well. And so this silent percentage of people, for the most part, you don't hear about it. The news doesn't report very much on it. There's hundreds of people in this, not in the Lower Mainland here, that every month are being booted out of their homes. So they're losing their housing. They're trying to figure it out by staying with friends and relatives, or maybe they're ending up on the streets.
And rents have gone up too much that you can't afford to pay to live there anymore.
And sometimes you get a commentator talking about how this is happening in a broad overview, but the real nuts and bolts of it are our human lives, and hundreds of them.
It's scary.
It's scary what's going on. You better have a good position and some stability, or you could be in trouble in the not too distant future, with prices of things the way that they are. And with the corporatization of how business is being done, how they treat people like they're not even people.
No,
you just
money.
You're just money.
That's
if you don't have it, you're nobody.
Yep.
So
go away.
Yeah. Well, there we go.
Yeah. Anyways, we made it through. I'll see you next week.
About some things.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can do your thing, and
I guess
I'll go back to being producer.
We'll wrap it up like we always do.
All right. We'll see you next week, my friend. All right. See you.
Lisa, where are you? David Eby, we could use you. Adrian Dix, come on, man, you're the provincial health minister. Somebody should take their job seriously and do whatever it takes to solve this situation of an RV parked very noticeably, complete with signs, 8 hours a day, 7 days a week, on a real busy thoroughfare, providing cannabis illegally to desperate people that are using it to escape addiction and better their lives. We've been doing it for 6 years. And for 6 years, we've been ignored by David Eby and the federal health minister, Patty Haydu at the time, and now Mr. Duclos. I don't know if I'm being ignored by Mr. Duclos. Maybe he has talked to Minister Bennett. Maybe their teams are getting together. But they have not contacted me in the 2 or so weeks since we met. We get ignored. We get ignored by the media, who I guess they're controlled a lot by government agenda. I suppose that there's a factor in there where the media has hopes of lucrative income coming in from advertising of cannabis products in the future when they're allowed to do that. That maybe they don't want to upset the apple cart and tell the story of how the government's legalization is really, really harming a lot of the people that are so vulnerable in our society. And that by preventing and actively working against access to what can be the vehicle through withdrawal for people is resulting in a lot more deaths and overdoses. So, for whatever reason, these people in these positions that I think can do some things haven't done it yet. And maybe they will, maybe they won't, I don't know. But it's been over 6 years. It was early February 6 years ago in 2017, where by that time I'd already approached City Hall. I had the support of Van Du. I had presented our ideas to the VPD, and we started handing out high-dose edibles to people. In very short order, it was successful. The lineup increased dramatically, quickly, and the reports and the testimonials that we were getting pretty quickly started to be all about how what we were doing was saving their life. It was giving these poor, desperate people a way out of where they were stuck, a different path to be on, one that was about wellness and happiness instead of misery and addiction. 6 years plus we've been doing this. I've written dozens and dozens of letters over that time to different people as it's come up that maybe this person can help us, maybe that person can help us. I copy the letters to 2 or 3 dozen people that I think need to know the journey that we're on here. People like ministers of health and addiction, premiers and deputy police chief, media, all these people. They always get a copy of the letters that I write as we go. I usually title it like latest CSP update, or CSP rated, or problems with the CSP, or those sorts of things. I never get a response back. I don't know if my letters, and including all of these people in the letters, results in any of them ever doing anything, but there's no evidence that that's the case, because Health Canada still maintains that they're going to deny our application at some point in the not too distant future. Ooh. It just makes no sense. Living at this end of it, immersed in what's going on here, I gotta tell you, it just makes no sense. Other than the understanding that the level of corruption in our country goes to the highest levels of our government and runs really deep, because this is a no-brainer. We even got legalization, and they still can't provide some sort of a special license for a program that provides cannabis because it works to get people off high-dose edibles. Wherever the resistance is to making that a reality, that's the corruption that we're talking about. It is not in some powerful entity's interests to allow what we're asking for. It has to be that way. It can't be anything else. there's great political currency available here. We have presented to the government something that if they were to get behind and support, would get them great positive attention. It would be something that they could actually really say that they have done to help address the opioid crisis. It would be received by millions of Canadians in an extremely positive way. Yet, still it doesn't happen. So the lure of a whole bunch of political positive currency isn't enough to overcome the barriers to allowing low barrier access that are there, obviously, because some people have dollar signs in their eyes, or they're afraid of the repercussions of admitting that cannabis is this valuable, safe, amazing, beneficial commodity in our product, in our society, that should never have been prohibited in the first place. But mostly it's probably more about money, because most of the people that should be taken to task and penalized severely for having been involved in the implications, or in the implication, that's not the right word, in implementing these prohibitions and in maintaining it for all of these decades, those people are probably never going to be punished. They don't really have, most of them are dead and gone, and most of them don't really have all that much influence anymore anyway. These are public servants that I'm mostly talking about, that had an ability, or you would think that they had the ability to make it right and never did. They're not going to be punished for it. None of the current politicians are going to be punished for it. They didn't do it. They weren't there for the most part, and they didn't know any better, and they can get away with that. So I don't think it's really all about just the government worried that they're going to be, penalized and taken to task because they unjustly used millions of Canadian tax dollars to harm good Canadian citizens who simply were involved with the cannabis plant. I think it's much more about the money that they think that they can keep making off of all of us by maintaining artificially high prices, not allowing low prices into the marketplace. And that's what's going on. It's, you do the math on just how much money we're talking about. I mean, holy smokes. Cannabis before legalization, just in British Columbia, estimated to be about a $9 billion crop. Probably those estimates were low because it's hard to track when people won't admit that they're growing or using or selling. But billions of dollars. And now with government legalization at the federal level, where they take hundreds of dollars off of every pound right off the top, $450 right off the top of every pound of weed that's sold all across Canada, everywhere. Well, of course, that's what a cartel does. They get a slice of everything that's going on out there. But to take that much money from a single pound of a plant that grows easier and produces more, or can be grown easier and can produce more at cheaper costs than just about anything else a farmer grows. But this is what they think they got going on. They think because of the way people were willing to pay $10 a gram during its prohibition of 100 years, that they're still going to be willing to pay that much if they're not going to get arrested. I mean, that's the bonus. Yeah, sure, it still costs you an arm and a leg to get a little bit of cannabis, but you're not going to get arrested, so they're not going to complain. They're used to paying that much anyway. And if you give them a nice fancy store, give them some real heavy-duty packaging, you can build it up and make it attractive, and they're willing to spend $18 a gram on the good stuff. $18 a pound, that's like $7,000 or $8,000 a pound. Pounds that are going out the window if people really, they need it. They're still selling all kinds of pounds of cannabis across Canada, even though their prices are outrageous. And most people, if they can, they will buy from the unregulated marketplace. The quality is probably equal or better, probably better. And the money's not going to bad people, which it does when you buy from the illegal stores. etc., etc. And a lot of people don't have the option of finding it, at reason, in unregulated marketplaces, because there's not a lot of unregulated marketplaces in some of the remote places across Canada and North America, and it's always been that way. So they're forced into buying from the government, and the government is selling pounds and pounds and pounds of weed. Even though their market share goes down more than up, they're still selling major amounts of pounds, and they're getting thousands of dollars per pound. So anyway, bash away we will, complain, yes we will, protest, we're not stopping, demonstrating, we're going to keep demonstrating until we can't, because we're not going to stop until we get it. We need to have this. I hope you're all on board with me. I hope you'll all do whatever your part is to be able to help us solve this. But there needs to be low barrier access cannabis storefronts for people. And these barriers that are built into the Cannabis Act need to be taken away. The Cannabis Act needs to be thrown out. It's like the computer on Star Trek that they encountered, that they managed to convince was its own worst enemy and was its own target for demolition. The Cannabis Act is exactly that. Its stated goals are unattainable because of the dynamics of the Act itself. The barriers placed before people to be able to access cannabis that are in the Cannabis Act are such that people are driven to the unregulated marketplace, and illegal activity is increased. And those are the stated goals, or the opposite of those are the stated goals of the Cannabis Act. So the Cannabis Act itself is illogical. It needs to be taken away. We need to have a marketplace that's able to regulate itself for the most part. Concentrates and edibles should have some warnings on them when they're sold to the public, probably an age limit for some of those things. But not all of these ridiculous regulations, price structures, fees, taxes, and the other things that are putting the price of cannabis beyond reach for the majority of Canadians that need to use it in any type of a serious way, and driving those people to an unregulated marketplace. In fact, driving those people to other unregulated drugs. And that's what government policy is doing here. So we're still operating our CSP, we're still having our demonstrations, we're having another day where so far no raids, and so far we're going to get to demonstrate how we can help hundreds of people in a day, harming nobody, with lots of people happy that otherwise wouldn't have been. We're in the RV now it's been 2 years since last November 1st, so November, December, January, February, March, April. We are 2.5 years operating our store from an RV parked in front of where the store should be, waiting for Health Canada. So that's the gist of our little story here. We're continuing to negotiate and push in all the ways that we find that we can to get the government to provide support for what we're doing here, and we'll see where the battle goes. We have court on this issue. As I mentioned earlier, we were arrested and charged with selling without a license, and there's a court date in October 3rd, 4th, and 5th for preliminary hearings on the matter to see where we go from there. And hopefully we're going to go to a charter challenge that will be effective in having the Cannabis Act dismantled and proper regulations put onto cannabis that are justified by the nature of the product itself. That's what we're looking for. Let's go outside and see what's going on. It is a beautiful sunny day in Vancouver. Our weekly weather report. It's warm. It's nice. It's hard to remember almost that we had a cold winter not that long ago. We were all freezing. This is so much nicer than that.
Oh, the sign's on the van now, eh?
Yeah, it depends where we put it. If we put it on the pole,
It
lots of
gets
times
ruined.
the wind twirls it around. I think it's
Yeah.
better on the front of the van there.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're loving this van. It's our third one in the series, and it's better because you can stand up in it.
Yeah.
And it's got the double window on the side, which really helps.
It's got the vents, so it's staying nice and cool in there too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt. It is a busy road for sure.
It is.
We're not going to tempt fate.
Oh, not today? Come on.
Yeah, we
Don't
like
live
to-
on the edge.
No, safety first here for sure.
Yeah.
Because we have the RV, because this is such a busy road, and they shut down the other half of it because of the construction going on. So the cars are all funneled up here, one or two at a time, and it gets pretty busy at rush hour for sure. We're almost there when we
All right.
get inside. There. We had the construction guys paint the bottom of our pylon
Nice.
white so that they know that this one is ours, because
Yeah.
they're trying to take it away. Or
Oh, are they?
hello. 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 All back. Spot TVs in the house.
Media
Hey.
credit, right?
Hey, guys.
Good. Very
Oh,
good.
at last.
Another day in paradise.
Oh, at last.
Is that what the name of the RV is? Paradise?
No, it's
That's still weird, big.
compared to what goes on out there, it's paradise.
Yeah.
We had a little songwriting session going on here. We had
That's what I said.
Bruce Campbell, one of the local heroes in the neighborhood, is a songwriter and a musician for many years. And he was here working with Rick Carlisle, one of our star employees, who's learning all sorts of different musical things these days. And they're writing a song that they're hoping is going to be an anthem for the cannabis community about needing a brick of weed and a whole bunch of things that go along with that. It's still in its early stages. I'm encouraging them to get her done quick. If they do that, then maybe we can have them do a performance at Canada Day or Cannabis Day coming up
Nice.
on July 1st. Thornton Park this year for Cannabis
I don't
Day.
have any out here though. We don't really have them normally.
With-
Do you need to get any input from our
Yeah, we were just testing them out.
our other crew here? Got anything to say, you guys?
We have shrooms.
Not really, currently.
No?
I mean, it's.
How's it been?
Just another day, another bunch of people.
Oh,
happy.
jeez, just sit right in front of me.
I will.
There you go, like that.
Business as usual. You know, helping the people that we need to.
Yeah.
Hey, he's been working hard,
And
so
some
just
of
give
those
him a
that we don't
massage.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Wow.
Very good.
like, I feel like he doesn't have strong enough hands.
Yeah, probably, eh?
That's a pretty thick,
It's
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
thick shoulder pad. here.
Pretty thick.
So I've heard.
Yeah. Just get a meat tenderizer, Kevin.
Oh, now here's the garbage. I probably should.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Fuck, I went to go to the butcher.
You were cleaning up the garbage for 12 and a half years in the community of Delta. Throwing stuff in the back of a truck down a lane every day. And then you've been on the show before. You talked about your story there. You started dabbling in cannabis edibles. And then somebody that you were giving it to had such amazing success that you went, holy smokes, I got to get involved in getting this out to the people.
Yeah, that's pretty much the way it happened. You know, I met that one lady and she started buying the gummies from us. And then she she seemed a little off. Like, not like drug off, but like just a little off. And I talked to her about it and she said, no, I'm on 11 different antidepressants. Oh, I can just imagine counteracting each other.
That should be.
I mean, and
disgusting.
then I met her 29 days later, so just under a month later, and she looked like a whole new person. Yeah, like so calm, and she's like, they've dropped me down to 1.
How's somebody supposed to function on 10 different?
Dropped
goddamn
10
pills?
antidepressants in 29 days, and looked like gold. And I that was the day I was just like, you know what?
Well, that's
Yeah.
10 different prescriptions
now-
that they're making a buck off of. So, like, how much money do you think that? And is she doing that every day?
Yeah.
So, like, it's
Yeah.
got to be wrecking her liver and a bunch of like something other.
Terrible,
You know?
terrible for your body.
What type of future do you
So you're
have?
still
when you're
dealing
doing
with
that?
garbage. The policies that the government has put in place are garbage policies that result in a lot of suffering for people and a lot of addiction going on here and poverty and stuff. But you don't have to throw huge heavy cans into the back of the truck
I
anymore.
kind of miss that,
You
to be
just
honest.
have to pass the gummies out.
I miss that a little bit though, because I feel like I don't get the workout anymore. I don't know. It's a lot. Like
Should go with
It was-
Dex. Dex goes to the gym on a regular basis.
Really?
25 to 35K a day I would run.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And lift anywhere from
Wow.
17 to 30 tons.
Holy smokes!
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Who does
I think we
this?
need to have
So-
more
Talking
about the
appreciation
Terminator?
for garbage men.
Oh,
Yeah,
We need to
that's-
have
Oh,
more,
yeah,
more
whatever.
appreciation for garbage men. That's not an easy
Oh yeah,
job.
no, it's not.
And
Especially
yeah,
when you get like days like this where it starts getting hot. Like the first day that I did it, I was 140 pounds soaking wet. The day after I moved to BC,
Exactly.
it was
It's
July
a free
4th.
fitness routine. You know,
It
you
is.
should, you
It
should
is.
be
I got
thanking
paid-
us, you know,
I got paid
for
to work
flipping so
out.
much.
for sure.
But I was 140 pounds and never really done any hard labor. It was July 4th. Coming from Ontario, I could spend 12 hours in the sun, hardly get a tan. So I seen all these garbage men that got their shirts off.
I can
2 days, all right, blistered from head to toe, pretty much. Yeah, and it was pretty gnarly because it was over 40 degrees.
Coming right up. So you'll be sweating.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then the hot sun hitting that as well.
Yeah.
And,
Much
yeah,
better.
that's good.
It definitely
And
is.
my first thought was about
enjoy the weather.
what it must be like to be a garbage man when it's cold and wet.
No,
But you
that's
went-
way better.
You went straight to hot
That's
first.
way better. Because that's the thing. It's so much easier to make your
Same
body
stuff, man. It's the
warm
same
up
kind.
than cool down.
So what should people do? They have a lemonade for the garbage men as they come through or something like that?
We survived on that. When it gets really hot in the summertime,
Yeah,
Literally-
some
literally-
people would have stuff
yeah.
like that.
Oh yeah, lots. And it's not like the same anymore. There's so many more municipalities that have the trucks with the arms.
Death Star.
And those guys, they're
They're just sitting in a
just glorified video gamers.
Yeah, they're in a
With their joystick.
air-conditioned cabin.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the guys that are running behind the truck and grabbing the bag
Right.
and thing and throwing it in there, look after those guys.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Wow.
work
All right, there we go.
harder than anybody you'll
so-
ever meet.
Well,
Yeah.
thanks for doing that. Thanks for quitting that job and doing this job.
Which is like
You've been a big help to us here as well in getting medicine to people, and I really appreciate you doing that.
I love it, to be honest. Like I worked with you, giving you products for the CSP for a while, but then I just felt like I needed to come down here, meet some of these people. I never really got that. I'd come down, I'd bring you a box, and then I would take off back to my home in Surrey. But it's been really rewarding getting to sit down and talk with some of these people, and and especially for me, ones that use my products, it's cool because I wholesale across Canada, but I don't get to talk to these people that are using it for the right purposes every day. You know what I mean? So the feedback that I've got from these people, just on my products alone, and just for a business sense, has been amazing. But I've definitely made some big connections with people down here.
Yeah, and things become a lot more clear as to what's going on when you're down here and you see it firsthand.
Absolutely.
And you see the journey that we're on as well. And governments have a role to play for sure. They've been quite involved in getting it to where it is right now, and they have a role to play in getting us out of here.
Absolutely. Hey, I mean,
You don't have to worry about that.
there's a million different ways they could go, but I mean, they've got to start doing something a little bit more proactive. I think mental health is a huge problem in this country. I think.
It
And
might
it's,
not seem to care, but there's a lot of us in need there.
absolutely, we do.
So we're going to make them do it. That's
Yeah.
what we pay them for. Damn it, we're just going to not put up with it. We're not going to take it anymore if they don't do something to help properly. We'll see where it all goes.
Well, I hope that after your hospital visit, they're talking on the podium. I hope something really.
I didn't talk on the podium. I talked to the guy on the podium. They didn't let me do it. There was a microphone.
Oh, there's a microphone, but there was
You
no.
got to ask
I
a
didn't get to-
question to
Yeah,
the
I got to
guy on
ask
the
questions
podium.
of the health minister at,
Yeah.
at the Vancouver General Hospital there from a microphone.
Oh yeah,
set
no,
up.
I meant like a podium in the back, not on
Yeah,
camera.
it's just a microphone.
Okay.
Just a
Well,
microphone, yeah.
But
That's
yeah,
that was a pretty damn important microphone though. But
Sure, absolutely, and I think that does have the potential to make a difference, and I'll continue to follow that up, and hopefully they're going to do something. For
I think
us.
their eagerness to talk to you.
Well, it's hard to know because with all those television cameras and the media right there,
But if it's-
being put on the spot like
Yeah.
that, as a politician, they're going to say the right things, and maybe they mean it, maybe they don't. I don't know.
Well, he fumbled his words quite a bit. He wasn't ready for you.
Oh, he didn't know what to say in answer to my question.
I'm surprised they didn't. Did
But
they?
he did seem genuine in his talking to me afterwards about wanting to.
I think that's the major win. Talking
sure.
to those guys after the cameras went down.
Yeah.
If the cameras aren't rolling, then they could have just walked away. And
Well, the media was still there, and for all they know, they were still being filmed in that
that's true.
conversation.
That's true. I
with
never
me.
thought about it that way, but yeah.
There was some pressure on them to probably say the right things to me and to appear to be interested, and I hope it's a lot more than that. I hope that they really genuinely were thinking that like, I don't know at what level these people are in on the corruption. I don't know,
But I mean,
what they get
those would be
about it.
fairly high up on the list of the people that we need to be talking to, though. At least in our province, I mean, that's about as close as you're going to get.
It's the closest. There's nobody else really. There is Carolyn Bennett. She's the other Minister of Mental Health and Addiction.
That's who he was talking about.
That's who he was talking about.
Okay.
She needs to be involved as well. But I mean, he said, his team would work with her team, and they'd work with my team, and we'll see if we can't get this done. The wheels of justice at the government level turn very slowly, but maybe they're turning.
I think the worst part about the whole aspect is the fact that we do have people that work in the LPs that are getting products sent back to them because there's just an overstock and they have to destroy it. And like a lot of those people I've talked to, and they're like, yeah, we would donate it if we could, but we're not allowed. I'm like, that's the worst part as far as I'm concerned, because I mean they would still be product that's went through their stringent exactly, but they're not even allowed to. They have to
It costs
destroy
them
it.
quite a bit to destroy it.
For sure it does.
So and we've offered that as one avenue, to be able to have a regulated supply. We'll see where it all goes.
I think that would help.
In any case, so that's what's going on, and we're going to continue to fight this fight for the next whoever long it takes to get her done. We're hoping every day that it's the day that the federal government sends an email or sends us something in the mail that allows us to do this without worrying about arrest, with understanding that our government is now going to support what is the best harm reduction option for the opioid crisis that there is. What you can do about that, I'm sure that letters to Mr. Duclos, the federal health minister, would help. I'm sure that letters to Ms. Bennett, the federal health minister of mental health and addictions, would help. To your local politicians, to anybody that you can think of, absolutely to the media, letters, emails, phone calls, all of those sorts of things. Form a protest. Go out and have a cannabis day somewhere. Make a sign. Do something, because it is really important stuff what we're talking about here, folks. It is life and death, and it is the future for the generations to come as to whether or not we're going to be under the thumb of our public servants, or whether they're going to actually start becoming what they are supposed to be, which is servants of the public, holding our best interests in mind and heart, and doing what's best for us as individual sovereign beings. I hope that happens. I hope it can happen. If enough of us pull together and get on the same boat, we can steer it any way we want, and we can make it happen. I believe that. I'm an optimist. You don't get anything done if you don't have some hope. So I do have hope. I hope that all of you will do something and take this seriously and be a part of the solution. And then in the end, we can have a better place to live. So go ahead, do whatever you think is right. Use your own creative mind and whatever tools you have and approach whatever you think is right. Be kind to the other people all along the way. Be kind to yourself. And most important, as always, have as much fun as you can.